Good afternoon. Today we shall be discussing John Donne's poem, A Valediction Forbidding Mourning. Now we know Valediction Forbidding Mourning is a metaphysical poem which was written sometime in 1611 or 12 for Donne's wife Anne before he left on a trip to continental Europe. A Valediction is a 36-line love poem that was first published in the 1633 collection Songs and Songs, 2 years after Donne's death. Based on the theme of two lovers about to part for an extended time, the poem is notable for its use of conceits and ingenious analogies to describe the couple's relationship. The beginning of the poem states the relationship of the lover to his beloved in terms of the union of body and soul. The ending of the poem traces the emblem of that union, the geometric image of a soul that cannot be perfected while it remains disembodied and therefore cannot be represented in the same way that Dante represented angelic love. In other words, the circle which ends the poem is no circle in the ordinary sense, but is rather a circle joined to the rectilinear otherness, distinguishing men from angels. This explains the apparent inconsistency in Donne's image, which is apparently poetic inconsistency, it would seem, compounding the obscurity of the final verses. Two different movements are executed by the compass. I quote, and though it in the centre sit, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it, and grows erect as that comes home. These lines clearly describe motion along a radius, from a center to a circumference, and back to the center again. On the other hand, the last stanza of the poem clearly describes circular motion. In these lines, for example, such wilt thou be to me who must, like the other foot, obliquely run. Thy firmness draws my circle just, and makes me end where I began. Together, these two movements comprise the dynamism of humanity. With its whirling motion, the compass synthesizes the linear extension of time and space with the circularity of eternity. The beginning of this poem causes some readers difficulty because the first two stanzas consist of a metaphysical conceit, but we do not know that until the second stanza. We should not read the word as, which begins the poem, to mean while, although that might be our instinct. Instead, as here means in the way that it introduces an extended simile comparing the death of virtuous men to the separation of the two lovers. The first stanza describes how virtuous men die. Because they have led good lives, death does not terrify them, and so they die mildly, even encouraging their souls to depart their bodies. In fact, their death is so quiet that their friends gathered around the deathbed disagree on whether they are still alive and breathing. In the next couple of lines, the speaker reveals that he is addressing his love, from whom he must now separate. The poem itself will prove to be the valediction, that is the farewell of the title. He also reveals that he has been using a simile, and that the lovers' separation should resemble the quiet way virtuous men die. This example of metaphysical conceit might seem a bit bizarre comparison to make. Dying men compared with the separation of lovers, but the key comparison is the quietness of the two events. He might also be suggesting that their separation, though only temporary, will be like a small death to him. Still he asks his love, that they part quietly and melt instead of split. The image of melting together suggests they might still be connected in liquefied form, as it were, an idea the poem returns to later. He also asks her not to indulge in the over-dramatic and cliched anguish of conventional separating lovers. Lines 7 and 8 of the poem suggest why he wants a quiet separation. The joys of the two of them, which they share, both spiritual and sexual, are holy to him. To complain loudly with tears or sighs would be to broadcast their love to those he calls the laity. Through this metaphor, he suggests that ordinary people resemble lay people who do not understand the holiness and mystery of their love. The speaker thus implies that the two of them are essentially like priests in a religion of love. Therefore, for her to make loud protests about his departure would essentially mean to profane the joy of their holy union by revealing it to the uninitiated and unworthy. The wish to be let alone, to be able to love privately, is especially characteristic of Donne and recurs in a number of other poems as well. Several other of his poems, as I told you, similar this privacy, celebration of privacy as it were. For example, the canonization does it, the sun rising does it. This celebration of the private world of two lovers contrasts strongly with the conventions of Renaissance love poetry, in which the lover wishes essentially to broadcast his love to the world, essentially as a means of competing with other lovers and also to show the intensity of his love as being better than the intensity of love some other lovers profess. The stanza beginning with line 9 of the poem contrasts dramatic upheavals on earth with those in heaven. Earthquakes cause great destruction and create great wonder and confusion among human beings. In contrast, the trepidation of the spheres, a trembling or vibration of the whole universe, is far more significant in its scope, but also innocent. We cannot see or feel it because it is a heavenly event. Donne here uses the old-fashioned Ptolemaic model of the cosmos in which each planet, the sun, the fixed stars, and a premium mobile or prime mover as it were, occupied a crystalline sphere surrounding the earth at the center. The contrast between heavenly and earthly vibrations anticipates a contrast to be developed in lines 13 to 20 between earthly lovers directed by sex and lovers who, like them, depend on their spiritual union. We know in ancient and medieval astronomy, trepidation of the spheres often referred to the vibration of the outermost sphere of the Ptolemaic universe, causing each sphere within to move accordingly. From line 13 of the poem, the speaker moves from his contrast of earthly with heavenly events to a contrast of earthly love with the experience he and his lover share. In this stanza, he develops the idea as to why earthly lovers cannot endure separation from each other. The soul or essence of that ordinary sublunary lovers is sense within quotes. That is, their love is based on the five senses and so consists essentially of sexual attraction. Therefore, when two lovers separate, they remove from each other the very basis of their love, which changes and fades like the moon. The speaker, from lines 17 to 20, continues to reassure his love by developing the qualities that make the love they share capable of enduring a separation, a physical separation, that is. In contrast with sublunary lovers, their love is not based solely on sensual gratification. In fact, it is a love so pure that even they themselves cannot define it. But because they feel confident in each feelings for the other, their physical separation, the absence of eyes, lips, and hands, cause them less anxiety. From line 21 through to line 24, the speaker begins to draw conclusions about the relationship between his soul and his loves. The therefore sounds like the conclusion of a logical argument which recurs repeatedly in metaphysical poetry. And in this case, he has in fact been attempting to persuade his love not to mourn during his absence. Because they are interassured of the mind, he suggests their closeness by saying their two souls actually have combined to form one soul. When he leaves on his journey, that one soul will not tear into two. Instead, it is flexible enough that it will actually expand. He uses gold as a simile to clarify this expansion. Although the preciousness of gold suggests the preciousness of their love, the key property of gold here is its malleability. That is the quality by which gold can easily be transferred into any shape that a person likes. Gold can be made to expand greatly because it can be hammered into an extraordinarily thin sheet. Donne therefore uses a simile that works emotionally, since gold is valuable, but also scientifically, since the malleability of gold corresponds to the flexibility and expansiveness of their love. Their love will not snap, but essentially expand, keeping them bound together during their separation. In the concluding lines of the poem, the speaker admits that he and his love may have two separate souls rather than one. He then develops the connectedness of the two souls in one of Donne's most famous and most ingenious metaphysical conceits, an extended simile in which the speaker compares the lover's two souls to the feet of a drafting compass. He compares her soul to the compass's fixed foot, and his to the other. Now, the critical offshoot of the poem is significant and deserves a special focus in our discussion. Among the English poets who underwent the influence of Italian love poetry of the Renaissance, John Donne stands out as one who sought to reconcile the errant soul to its body once more. This meant rescuing human love from both the angelic mysticism and the erotic formalism of the Italian tradition and restoring it to its proper domain, humanity. Donne was primarily concerned neither with the angel, as it were, nor with the beast, but rather with the battlefield separating them, long since vacated by the Italians, insofar as he defended that middle ground in the question of human love. His poetry marked a return to a more medieval sensibility. It is the thesis of my argument to suggest that this most famous image, that is that of the compass in a valediction forbidding mourning, protests precisely in the name of incarnation against the neo-Petrarchan and Neoplatonic dehumanization of love. It makes substantially the same point made by love, that is love with a capital L, to the young Dante 300 years earlier to Donne, where the idea is that angelic love is a perfect circle, while beasts and lower beings move directly and insatiably to the center. To quote in Latin, tu autem non sic. Human love is neither because it is both. It pulsates between the eternal perfection of circularity and the linear extension of space and time. The compass which Donne uses to symbolize it therefore traces not merely a circle but essentially a dynamic process, the swerving serpentine, as it were, of Donne's poetry and of his thought. This is the essence of love that is celebrated by Donne in his poem Valediction forbidding mourning. Thank you.